eager to engage the foe and exercise the career opportunities that war had opened to them, while having no scope to do so, as they merely inspected training, supervised exercises, and awaited the deliveries of weapons, vehicles, and equipment which alone could fit their formations to fight the Germans or Japanese. At all costs, however, and being especially mindful of American public opinion, Churchill was insistent that Britain's home army should not be seen to be entirely idle. He pressed for raids on the continent, pursuing objectives which might fulfill useful purposes, or sometimes attacking targets that had no value at all. They were merely accessible to small amphibious forces. Many generals recoiled from this sort of petty piracy, and on the other side, the Wehrmacht declined to bother with it. German doctrine held that wars were won by big battalions on great battlefields. Hitler's commanders rejected perceived sideshows and trivia, and so did most of their American counterparts. Britain's Prime Minister, by contrast, loved adventures, whether personal or national. In January 1942, a raid was proposed which promised a genuine prize. The British and Germans were locked in an electronic conflict to empower their own air forces and prostrate those of the enemy through ever more potent refinements of radar. New installations had appeared upon the Channel coast of France, which were obviously vital to Hitler's defences against the RAF's bombing campaign. Neither aerial reconnaissance, nor ultra-decrypts, nor even monitoring of German pulse transmissions could tell Britain's boffins all that they needed to know about these latest weapons, for radar was, of course, a weapon. Thus, scientific intelligence at the Air Ministry proposed an assault on the German installation at Bruneval, a wooded hamlet 12 miles north of Le Havre. The burgeoning Combined Operations Command seized on the scheme. It seemed practicable, even allowing for the straitened resources of Britain's Army, Navy, and Air Force of those days, within the compass of our stride, to recall Churchill's phrase. Bruneval was not far from home, barely 90 miles across the Channel from Portsmouth. A descent on the site promised opportunities to test new men, tactics, weapons, equipment, indeed revolutionary means of making war. Churchill enthused. The chiefs of staff agreed. Plans were made and preparations set in train for a night assault codenamed Biting, to be launched during February's full moon, which should illuminate the battlefield in a fashion indispensable to success. Engineers would be sent to dismantle and carry home components of the Würzburg, while a company of the newly formed 1st Parachute Brigade shielded the treasure hunters. An assault of this kind was ideally suited to a glider landing, but in January 1942, Britain's embryo glider force was nowhere near ready to go into action. Parachutists must do the job. In the absence of a British campaign on the continent, such small business consumed the attentions of big men. Later in the war, when the destinies of armies and of nations were disputed daily on vast battlefields, forays on the scale of Bruneval would pass unnoticed in the operations rooms of the great. Men would fight and die in their thousands without much disturbing the digestions of the complex directors. In February 1942, however, when the British and American people were being served a relentless diet of defeats, such a venture as Biting assumed a significance attainable only in that time and place. It was as if the floodlights of a great football stadium were turned upon a match played within lines painted over a mere fraction of its turf. Such glamorous figures as Commodore Lord Louis Mountbatten and Major General Frederick Boy Browning competed for its laurels. The operator